Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. It is every third Tuesday. It's July the 20th, and today Jonathan and I are going to cover a topic in some depth, which is called dynamic cost centers. For those people who have not joined these calls before, every third Tuesday we do this. This is the fifth one. In past sessions, we've covered things like group punching, we've covered attestation, we've covered other various topics. And what we do in these sessions is we just do a little mini deep dive. We cover a particular topic in some detail. We demo that particular product or that feature, I should say. And then on top of that, I go through a couple of other things that I hope you'll find interesting. And these sessions are always recorded and they're always available on our YouTube page. So if you can join us, as a number of you have today, and a number of you are new resellers, and welcome to all of you, and thanks for joining us. The advantage of being on the call live is that, of course, you can always ask questions, and we can always give you answers to specific things as it happens live. If you aren't able to join the call, it doesn't matter at all, because you can always go back and review those materials. And so, you know, these are a good part of our knowledge repository or asset repository of information relating to some of the features and benefits of NoahFace. So Jonathan will do the mini deep dive, then I'll cover some topics. So Jonathan, why don't we hand it over to you, and if you can get into dynamic cost centers, please.
Sure. Okay. Let me shrink this down here. This is not going to be as exciting as the space launch today, but hopefully it will be more useful to you. So right now you were probably already familiar with the fact that we can do task tracking within the NoahFace platform. So people can change their cost centers. In this example, it's kitchen tables, whatnot, and those get passed along over to the ready side. So that way it actually sends over the code. So what I'm going to do first is show you the configuration for that basic setup, and then I will show you afterwards what the dynamic piece looks like. So within your access point type config, okay, or the behavior of the access point, what we've basically said here is we want this to look up, and we're going to do the task, and instead of having it manually list these out, which is what you had to do prior, which kind of sucked. No one was a fan of that, because if you updated it in Ready, you then had to also update it in NoahFace. Now you can just update it in Ready and it will automatically sync over to NoahFace. So we're using this concept here, okay, where you say look up this particular cost center. So what we have is we're saying, all right, it's cost center tree 2 is what we want to pull up. And then we're naming the button in Shift. So let me show you what that actually looks like on the synchronization side.
Jonathan, can I?
Mm-hmm.
My screen on my laptop is splitting between you and the actual shared screen. Is there a way to get rid of your video so that way I could go full screen and see it, what you're talking about?
Yeah, you should be able to double click on it and it'll pop it up to the main screen.
No, it doesn't do it.
Nick,
and then possibly at the top of your Zoom controls, you see view options, and you should be able to select between fit to window, 50%, 100% original size. And then down the bottom, whether you're looking at side by side or, so it's part of the Zoom options, Richard.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries, it's all good.
I'll take it. So perfect, got it.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So what we do is we pull this over in the user sync that you guys are already familiar with, right? So you set up your users, you want to pull those down into NoahFace. So this is all your standard stuff here. Okay, you set your schedule, all of your settings. But now at the bottom, we have these different options where you can sync down 2 cost centers. And we're syncing them down. That way the iPads can still work offline for you, okay? So what I've told it to do is I want to sync over cost center tree 2. And on the ready side, you can see here's my cost center. I've called it departments, and then we have all these various departments, okay? And it's number cost center tree 2, okay? So we've got it there. We've told it, I'll tell it to sync just once more, and that will pull all the cost center items down, okay? This also syncs the users, but you set this on a schedule, so it's going to happen automatically for you. It's not something you're going to have to go through and manually do. I'll be doing it manually just for the demo, but this will happen automatically for you in the background. Okay, so then on the access point side, I have my new configuration that I made, and I told it to use cost center tree 2, and I'm telling it here, use that configuration that I made, okay? So let me show you the iPad, and we will register an event. Okay, so I'll put my face in front of it, and here's the various departments that are in the cost center tree. So let's say I'm going to work in the bakery. Oops. I'm going to work in the bakery, so it will register my punch. And then let's say an hour later, I come back and I need to change because I'm going to be working somewhere else. Okay, now I'm going to move over to the deli. There's that one. And then I'll move over to another location. Let's say I'm going to work in produce. Again, these are all customizable to whatever you've actually gotten ready. Okay, so if I go looking ready at my timesheet now, you'll see that my first entry was for bakery, okay, and it registered my punch. And then I switched over to deli, okay, and then I switched over to produce. This would actually show out punches. It's just I did it so quickly, it's just showing an in punch, okay. But they would show an actual out punch. It's just because it's been within the same minute. So you can see at that point it's sending over the actual cost center data, okay. So that way it would be tracked for the user. All right. Any questions about that, or does that all make sense so far? Good. Okay. All right. So now what we want to do is let's make a new cost center item. So you've got a customer and they need to change this. They got a new department, or maybe they have new cost centers every day. I mean, depends on what their configuration is. But if we go make a new cost center item. So we'll add a new one. Okay, there's that. That's now been saved in the ready side. So what I'm going to do is, again, this would happen automatically, but because I'm doing the demo, I'm going to force the sync. That new code would automatically sync down, but we'll go ahead and manually do it.
So Jonathan, just a clarification, you say that it would sync automatically, and it would sync automatically based on how you've configured it, right? So if you
it's gonna sync down according to the schedule, yes.
Correct.
So it can be as small as a half hour, or it can be once a day. But whenever the synchronization runs again, it will be pulled into NoahFace. Right. Okay, so that's been completed. I'm going to close out of NoahFace here and reopen it so it pulls down those changes. This here would happen within 5 minutes. Okay, so once the changes come over to NoahFace, the iPads check in every 5 minutes to get their new change. So now when I present myself, you'll see here that I have a new code option, which I can click. And if we go look at the timesheet, we will have a new item in the timesheet using the new code. And there's the new code, okay? And you can see it also did the actual clock out now that it wasn't within the same minute, okay? So you shouldn't see this behavior because no one's gonna be clocking in and clocking out or changing tasks that quickly. So what actually occurs when I do that actual change, and I'll show you once more. Let's say I switch to bakery. What's occurring on the back end, just so you're aware, is it's actually one click for the user, but 2 events are actually happening when it goes over. So it sends over, I only punched once to change to bakery, okay? But it clocked me out of the new code option, and then it clocked me in on the bakery. So one thing for the user, but actually two things on ready. So you're getting the data that you need. I'll show you the events also. You can see all of these tasks are actually happening here, okay? Within the NoahFace side, in case you ever needed to come look at that. But that's the basics. So the only thing that you really need to know about this is set up your cost center to download, okay? And then you can tell your task, your task tracking configuration, hey, I want you to use cost center X, whichever one that you're wanting to actually use. That will sync down according to your schedule. That will then hit the iPads within 5 minutes, and you're good to go. That'll start showing up for the new users. What questions can I answer about that? Does anyone want to know more about it? Did that make sense? What can I help you with? Okay, I guess that made sense for everybody. We'll continue on. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of things as I normally do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Touchless and just tell you what you already know or tell you stuff that you don't know related to how you can touchlessly use NoahFace, because there are a few options. The second thing is, as I mentioned earlier, I am in Vegas. I want to talk about trade shows in general, as well as a couple of specific opportunities. And then lastly, probably a reminder to most of you on video assets that are available, including a few new ones. So firstly, on Touchless. Jonathan, if you can click, please. Okay, whoops. So first and foremost, as you know, NoahFace has a bunch of touchless features that are built into the system, such as touchless clock in and clock out, etc. And obviously that's configured as to make it so it is touchless clock in and clock out. One of the advantages of us being on an iPad-based platform is that we can tap into or hook into or utilize the features that are within the iOS and the iPad technology. And if you are not aware, and we can send you details or you can do a little bit of research on this, but iPad has some pretty good voice control features built into the app. So when you saw earlier, when Jonathan was doing the dynamic cost centers, and he was choosing bakery versus produce versus new code, et cetera, those buttons, the way that you can use NoahFace to choose these cost centers is by touching the screen and touching kitchen or tables. However, if you set it up with your iPad and you say the word tap, so you say tap kitchen or tap tables or tap delivery, then you don't have to touch the screen. So using the iPad technology of voice recognition is another way that you can touchlessly access NoahFace. Now, as we were investigating this feature and the use of it, I was trying to work out where would that be useful. And I think that if, for instance, your customer is in a facility where perhaps they are wearing gloves, they're handling food, they're in a lot of water, touching a lot of wet things and things, perhaps they don't want to touch the screen. That's where that could be useful. I think that another way could also be if some of your customers are in a situation where their users are potentially physically have some restrictions in movement, or they find it difficult to actually use their hands or whatever, that could be another place where this voice activated usage could be useful. If any of you think of other use cases whereby you think that the voice activation would be useful, then please share it. But they're the two that I came up with. The third thing that obviously is another way to not use your finger or to actually touch the screen is using some sort of stylus. This is one of many dozens or hundreds of styluses that you can purchase through Amazon. Just Google or just search stylus. But the ability to buy for staff, these whether they're attached to your keychain or whether they're just individual styluses. But styluses is, of course, another way that you can touch the screen without using your finger for those clients that are concerned. So touchless, 3 ways. Just wanted to inform you of that if you weren't aware. Any questions on that stuff, or we'll move on, I think. All right. So I wanted to talk. Yeah,
I had a question.
Yeah.
How good is the voice recognition on the iPad? And
It's
does
good.
it have to be trained? It has to be trained on itself
No.
as like a separate utility, or does it work more like a Tesla that it'll take any voice and try and recognize it?
Yeah, so I think what you'll find is that the technology is really good. The weird thing for me personally, Richard, is not my accent. The weird thing is that you have to say the word tap, right? Which is just, right? So you look at it and you say, oh, choose kitchen, or, kitchen, and it's not going to work. You have to say tap kitchen, tap produce, tap. So it's a bit of a training thing in terms of how you turn it on. But I have found in my experiments that it works quite well. Apple's I guess the $1 trillion company and the largest company in the world for a reason, and they know how to do good tech. So that's my experience. I hope it works for you too.
It's the accessibility feature for someone that may not have hands or whatever, or not have an ability to touch the screen. That's essentially what we're tapping into. It's not Siri or anything like that. It's just the accessibility feature on the iPad.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
No, that's great. It opens the door, because whether it's a hospital or a manufacturing plant or a restaurant for that matter, you don't want them touching anything.
Correct.
So that opens the door. That's great. Thank you.
So our old headline post-COVID is no one wants to touch anything anymore. We know that. It doesn't matter what industry they're working in. It doesn't matter anything. They just don't want to touch stuff. And then the other thing is, if your customers are using a biometric device, which is fingerprint, handprint, thumbprint reader, we know that people are going sanitizer crazy, and they're spraying sanitizer on stuff, and that is disabling these other touch-based biometric devices. And so, excuse me, and so NoahFace or iPads, you can squirt sanitizer on them and it does not disable the device. So that's what we're finding. Okay. So I'm going to move on to trade shows, and 2 different comments. First one, I have mentioned this before, but I just wanted to reiterate it for people who haven't heard it. Look, if you are sponsoring an event, if you have a booth at a trade show and you're going to be demonstrating your payroll and driving customers that way, let's talk about whether or not NoahFace, meaning us, could actually be at your booth physically, meaning me there helping you. That would be one option. Or how you could set up an iPad on your booth and be able to demonstrate the benefits of a touchless facial recognition addition to payroll. What we believe is that a lot of payroll shows are really a bit boring. There's not a lot of new tech. There's not a lot of interactivity other than people talking to each other. And so the ability to have a facial recognition system that works in real time, that can register people in 10 to 15 seconds and be able to show people, we found historically that this is a great bit of sort of interest and excitement to your booth. So if you're going to any of these trade shows and you want us to help you have something a little more interactive or a little more interesting at your booth, let us know, and we can do it by being there, or at least getting you set up and ready. Okay. The second thing, one of the trade shows that's coming up at the end of September is called HR Tech. And we NoahFace have committed to be at HR Tech. So we're going to actually part of a group called Startup. And we'll be actually doing a thing called Pitch Fest as well. But HR Tech is a show that is traditionally a lot of people looking for interesting innovations in technology. So we will be there, and we will have some presence at a booth there. I did notice on the website today that if you are interested in attending that trade show, that they do have some early bird pricing that they list on their website, and that is available until the end of July, the 28th of July, as you can see. An other overall comment about trade shows in Vegas right now. I was at a show yesterday. I'm going to go back to it tomorrow. It's called ISC West. It's nothing to do with payroll. It's actually a security show. What the people at the show are telling me is that the number of exhibitors is down significantly. It's probably 25 to 30% of the normal floor space. So it's obviously a lot smaller. A friend of mine was at a big trade show a couple of weeks ago called World of Concrete. Normally 50 to 60,000 people at World of Concrete. Only his estimate, less than 10,000 people at this event. So clearly people are not all coming back to Vegas immediately, even though it's wide open. But what I did find encouraging of walking the floor yesterday and talking to different vendors is I think you get better quality time on the floor with vendors and participants because there's not as many people actually at the shows. So that's my experience on trade shows. But yeah, tell us if you want us to be a part of your booth, and then that's my input for what it's worth. Okay, so I'll move on to the next topic. So video assets, some old news here and a bit of new news. So firstly, a reminder on our YouTube page. You know that it exists. Jonathan, if you can see the next slide, please. Okay, just a reminder, on our YouTube page, you've got that sort of main product presentation, which is the 90-second version, which you can share with all your customers. On another page, which is our ready landing page, there's a 120-second version of that, which is more for resellers, because that talks about flexible pricing and the UKG network and unlimited support. But here on the YouTube page, that's where you can have a product video that you can share with your customers, because it only talks about the features and benefits of NoahFace. The next thing on there is our partner testimonials, and that's a combination of a sizzle reel as well as individual videos by a number of our resellers, including Richard, who's on this call. The next section is really useful. That's our demo videos. There's 15 things that explain everything from visitor registration to compliance, etc. And these videos are all designed with no sound, and also the ability, because it's a YouTube video, where you can adjust the speed. And these are designed for you to use on your demos with your clients, okay? So just familiarize yourself with those videos. There's quite a lot of them, and hopefully they're useful. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we're on our 5th today, every third Tuesday, and today's meeting will be posted in the next couple of days. But it's always a good place to go back and just get some detail, whether it's on visitor registration or employee breaks, or today's session, dynamic cost centers. Okay. Any questions on the NoahFace YouTube page? All right, we'll move right along. Reminder, NoahFace.com/ready. This is designed for resellers. This is a one place where you can always get that 2-minute video I mentioned, a simple list of features and benefits, easy access to the reseller sizzle reel, some reseller quotes, and then some links either to the YouTube page, the one sheet of features and benefits, and then also some FAQs on NoahFace. So, this is just a great, easy to remember URL for one stop of a whole bunch of information related to NoahFace. And then the last one is 2 new videos. Jonathan, if you can flick, please. 2 new videos that I've just recorded. And these are also available within the, they'll be on the NoahFace YouTube page, actually just listed in the uploaded videos. But these are me talking to screen, hopefully in a friendly and sort of engaging way, as opposed to the previous 2 videos that I just mentioned, the 90 and the 120 second, which are much more corporate, product-y type of videos. This is me hopefully being sort of friendly. And the one on the left is welcome to NoahFace. And what I do there is I just talk about the various features that NoahFace has. And as you can see, the screens come up along the bottom of this video as I touch on each of these topics, whether it's touchless or group punching or whatever. And then the benefits at the bottom, there's 6 of those. And then the second one is even more casual, I guess, and I call it top 10 features. And in the video, I talk about apologies to David Letterman, if any of us are old enough to remember David Letterman's top 10 features. And then what I do is I just go through the top 10 features of NoahFace, the favorite features. So these 2 videos are available on our YouTube. They both run for about 3 minutes. If you love looking at my face or you love hearing my accent, these are good videos. If you don't love looking at my face and you don't love my accent, then go back to the 90 and the 120 second, and then you've got a more normal person talking about NoahFace rather than me. Jonathan, I think that's okay. So that's what I wanted to cover in today's session. Does anybody have any questions right now about anything we just discussed?
Nick, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Regarding the touchless features again, especially the iPad voice recognition. Yeah. Is it possible to use that when you're enrolling a user? So, the NoahFace comes up and you need to type in your code to get into the NoahFace so you can enroll the user. Can the voice recognition be utilized for that?
So firstly, I'm not sure. My instinct says no. Jonathan, do you know?
It should be the same concept. I'll have to test that out though. That's something I haven't tried.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should be able to, if you're doing like list plus admin, you should be able to say tap and then the name, and then tap the numbers. But I'll test that out and let you know, Richard.
That would really help us out too, because we have clients that don't want to touch it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And if we can provide a solution, that'd be great.
Okay, we'll look at that and we'll get back to you on that. Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, no worries at all. Anybody else? John, great to see you on the call. Alan, Taryn, does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask? And I know a couple of you have got some microphone issues. If you have got any questions, just put them in the chat and I'll respond. And if we don't have any questions, that's all okay, and we'll jump off the call. We try and get this done in about 30 to 40 minutes, and we're right on time for that. Okay, so Alan, no questions. Thank you, no problem. And John's got nothing as well. Perfect. So all good. And yeah, so next meeting is August the 17th. Not ready to announce what that topic is.
Actually, I have that topic. So okay. We've made some significant changes to how the attestation functions. If you were going to use compliance or attestation, you lose a lot of the time clock features. And we've now added in where you can add attestation pieces to the time clock, the clock in, clock out option. So you can add attestation to all the existing features that you want, where you're using minimum break periods and things like that. And there's also some imaging things that you can do. So I'll be covering sort of that feature or those additions So it lets you combine attestation along with the clock in, clock out, which will be, I think, helpful for some of your scenarios.
Excellent. All right, good. So unless anybody else has any questions, I'll wrap this up. Read the bottom line of what's on the screen. We're always here to help. Okay. So if you need anything, then please call me, call Jonathan. We're here to help. And we appreciate your business. We appreciate your partnership. And thanks so much for your time today. And we will talk soon. All right. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.